The Manic Street Preachers there, Show Me the Wonder on home of the No Repeat Guarantee Absolute Radio. My name's Pete Donaldson, and I'll tell you what, bit of a treat. The man himself, James D. Bradfield, is in the studio. Sir, how are you?
Hello.
Hello, James. Let me just turn you down. I didn't know what brogue you were bringing in.
Sorry.
No, sorry. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. Hey, you've just driven from Wales to...
Yeah, no, kind of, we drove from the Pig's Head, Wales.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of early this morning and just been doing some stuff, and now I'm here sat in this seat trying not to sway.
Trying your darndest.
Yes.
It's a little bit warmer in England, I do believe, than...
Yes, this is my summer holiday today. It was kind of like...
You got a handkerchief on your head.
No, I was out walking the dog this morning, and it was kind of like, she was just like, just go back home.
I got fur on me.
It's like, but no, it's cool, man. I'm used to the cold.
Yeah. my mum's from Wales, and she always used to go on about the fact that, we don't have snow like you guys have snow. And she always gives it the big one.
Yeah, that's
around this time of the year.
That is giving it the big one.
You've never seen snow. You've never seen snow, Peter. Now, it's not long since your 11th studio album reached whatever we're calling shops nowadays. I don't really know. Is there a bit of you that thought, have we been away for a little bit too long? You've never really taken a break like this for a little while?
No, not really. I mean, kind of like, I think that the most kind of like the biggest like thing in your head is that it's our 11th album. So this that symbolism of going past your 10th album. The number 10 jersey in rugby or the number 10 jersey in football, and going past your 10th album always seems like this it's a heavy symbolic kind of like weightiness to it, and you kind of you've gone past a point of no return in a strange way. So I think that's what was weighing in our heads more than anything, and perhaps that subconsciously fed into us doing a more reflective, self-questioning record.
But you still got something to say, surely. I
hope so, yeah. I mean, but kind of the trick is, when it's just the three of you in the viper's nest, kind of like you feed off each other's vitriol or joy or enjoyment or angst or wherever, and we are very comfortable with each other. We're like a little kind of like youth club, for the over 40s, and it may seem exciting to us, but whether that translates to the outside world is the trick sometimes, and you only find out when you release things.
Yeah, and kind of 11, now almost 12 albums in, does your kind of crap detector still kind of operate? Do you still kind of go...
I think so, yeah. I think so, yeah. It's kind of like, I think, our filters are much more finely tuned now.
Yeah.
We managed, some people would very much disagree, but, I think we managed to filter out, the deaf tracks now, definitely. I would hope so after 11 albums.
Yeah.
But kind of, I think you've just got to wake up to a new reality once you pass your 10th album, and, we're 44, and you got to embrace that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just look backwards all the time.
No, you can't just be looking at the mirror at 4 o'clock in the morning going, what am I? What have I become?
Or looking around the room, what have they become? I'm still brilliant.
No, I'm lacking enough confidence to actually just direct it at myself, I think.
You have chosen a couple of tracks for this particular show. I think we'll go for a Manics track before that. I thought we'd stick on It's Not War for the first track.
It's Not War, Just the End of Love.
Okay. We'll be back in 3 minutes and 25 seconds. We're back in the room, people. The Manic Street Preachers. I'm joined by James D. Bradfield. Nelly brought on a bit of swearing, mentioning the gig that obviously the Manic Street Preachers did a couple of years ago, where they ran through 38 of their singles, and I just wondered whether you'd had any problems with your voice at any point.
No, you used the dreaded polyp word. For listeners out there, is a horrible condition that singers can get.
Yes.
Could mean the end of your career.
But most singers get it, don't they, at some point?
No.
Mercury had struggled with them all his career.
Nah, lots of singers do. No, and lots of singers don't.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
well, let's just hope you've got this far.
And you've landed me in an MDF hellish room where I can't touch any wood now.
I know. We've had to touch your promoter's head. It's been wonderful. Who you can see on the webcam, actually, if you look on camera too. Have a give him a wave, Sam. There we go. We're playing Anthem for a Lost Cause at the moment. Now, the video I've been watching over the last couple of days, that puts you through the ringer. Goodness me.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like the narrative in the video it focuses on the women's kind of like actual kind of part of the mining strike struggle.
Yeah.
Really, were the unsung heroes. They kept everything going. They kept everything rolling. They were the people that got all the food packages together and did all the kind of, the mass canteen kitchens where everybody would get fed because the miners weren't getting paid.
Yeah.
And you know, their story is very untold, I suppose. And you know, between Nick and Kieran Evans, you know, they came up with that story for the video, and yeah, it was very affecting. And I'd like to think that that goes beyond the miners' strike experience in Wales, you know, because obviously, you know, you had the auction miners' strike experience in the Midlands experience, and I'd like to think, you know, if any of those people that were connected to that period in British history, that they would connect to them too, you know. But yeah, the first time I saw it, it hit home to me even as well. And you know, I lived right in the middle of that community when it was happening, and it even affected me when I first saw it. So
yeah, well, you know, but I wasn't kind of aware of it when I was a child. But my dad was a miner; he grew up in Seaham and stuff, and that whole kind of belt is kind of just decimated by the same kind of problems. And I think it doesn't even end at the miners' strike. I think to a certain extent, the women are always the ones that have to pick up the pieces with war and stuff like that. You know,
definitely.
It's all very translatable. Is there? Do you want to kind of get into that sort of thing a little bit further, the kind of filmic side of things? Because obviously this album is very filmic in its dispatch, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like, you know, there was a trio of videos that came with it, all directed by the same guy, Kieran Evans. He's from West Wales, and he's an amazingly talented guy. You know, he directed a film called Kelly and Victor, which is an amazing piece of work. So it was great to actually partner up with somebody that we completely trusted, and that we had, you know, he was a real touchstone for us. I know that Nick really entertains, you know, the idea of trying to marry up the cinematic visual image with something we could do one day. But I know my limitations. I'll leave that to the words, guys. You know, so
like a solo could you solo for an hour and a half?
Good God, that sounds nice. But no, I would like to think so, but yeah, it would be a relief as well to kind of sometimes let, you know, images take on the narrative of what words usually do, you know, because I listen to a lot of music by bands like, you know, Russian Circles and Mogwai, and sometimes it is liberating to, like, you know, let something else take over the narrative of what the lyrics do. So yeah, there's definitely an interesting thing there, and I think, you know, Nicky and the band and Kieran Evans could do something amazing together. But like I said, you know, I'm just a utilitarian. I'm a utilitarian ditch digger in the middle. I just write music.
Okie dokie, you're Jeremy Bentham. The last time we saw but with your head. Last time we saw you, you were at the 100 Club. Now, doing a gig for Absolute Radio, which obviously very thankful for. It was a glorious piece of work, and everyone was really, really pleased with what happened. You never had kind of that much stock with kind of these sacred kind of vessels when it comes to venues and stuff like that. You always, you know, you were always quite forthright on, like, the Town and Country Club, the Glastonbury Festival and stuff like that. Yeah. Do you think that there's anything special about a particular basement where a particular band may have?
I think there are ley lines sometimes. You know, you can go to certain cities and know there's something special there, and you know, it's just, you know, every time you know it's going to be an amazing gig no matter what venue. Right. But that definitely you can attach that to certain venues as well. You know, like Barrowlands in Glasgow. You know, I think this will be our 10th or 9th time when we tour next year there, and we've never had a bad gig there. You know, it's amazing. You know, the Astoria in London used to be like that as well. And then sometimes you can play at a place which is like a sacred cow. Yeah. You know, like the 100 Club, and it's a good gig, but, you know, I know that people have seen better gigs there than when we played there, you know. Yeah. I've always had this special affection for places like the Astoria, God rest its soul. Yeah. You know, and you know, Wolverhampton Civic Hall, Barrowlands. You know, you never have a bad gig in those places, and that's a special feeling to tip up in town and know tonight's going to be great. Yeah, and they're not too big, they're not too small, they're kind of somewhere in the middle. My mates took the mick at me once when I was doing an interview in 1991. Nick and Richey were doing the talk, and they were saying, "We don't want to play the toilets of Britain. You know, we want to go straight to the arenas." And then I chipped in with, all the medium-sized venues. And I've never been allowed to forget about it since. But yeah, I do like the medium-sized venues a lot. You have got a tour early next year. Tickets are available from the Absolute Radio ticket store, in fact, absoluteradio.co.uk. Do you kind of look at a big stack of dates and kind of wince a bit, you know, 11 albums on? No, I absolutely love looking forward to a tour. Kind of sometimes if a really bad, like, you know, flu virus is going around, then if I get it, I can't sing, and that scares the life out you. Because I've only ever had to cancel a concert 3 times in you know, since, you know, 1989. But it's a horrible feeling when you've got to do it, and you can't explain to people that if you get flu, as like, you know, like a plumber having a broken arm.
Yeah.
You just can't do your job.
Yeah.
And you can't sing, you know. And that's the only thing that you ever get quite, you know, fearful of.
But they must know that you're kind of one of the hardest working bands in the world.
Oh God, I've had my lazy moments, but you know, it's kind of I look at a tour like that, and you know, we're touring next April, and you know, I can't wait because it's not just the experience of playing live. I've got a black book of, you know, some of the best cafes in Britain. I always go back to the same places. I always go back to the same places for coffee. I always got the same pubs.
Right.
You know, music shops. You know, I've got.
Yeah, you're a big fan of the record stores, aren't they?
Yeah, and I've got like, you know, a kind of a purchasing compendium that stretches back from 1989. Sadly, a lot of these places are closed down now, but there you go.
Well, there's the modern malaise of the record shop, I suppose. Do you kind of miss the discipline a little bit when you're on tour? Do you, when you've kind of got a little bit of time off, are you like, well, nobody's telling me to get up at 4:30 in the morning. Nobody's telling me to go to bed at 4:30 in the morning, for example.
No, not at all.
You don't miss it. You don't miss it at all.
No, I'm just really good at just doing what I'm told, and then if I'm left to my own devices, I'm cool. You know, I'm a simple guy.
I would not say that. That's very rude. Right, your first choice for tonight's show was Killing Joke, Love Like Blood. What does this song mean to you?
Well, I think this song came out in 1984, I believe, because that was my last year of Oakdale Comprehensive back in Wales, and I remember when it used to rain, everybody would be inside at school, and in the big hall they'd bring down this big screen and they'd have MTV on it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, one of the first incarnations of MTV, and this track was always playing then in 1984. You know, it was raining lots, and we'd be stuck in the big assembly hall just watching Love Like Blood on MTV. And this is one of those cases of a real underground cult band suddenly going overground.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly they felt like a really heavy rock band with a purpose, but with a gothic edge. I just absolutely love this song.
Awesome stuff. Well, here is Killing Joke, Love Like Blood, the first choice of James D. Bradfield. Love Like Blood, Killing Joke, there on Absolute Radio. James D. Bradfield, you were off in your own world there.
Just haven't heard that for about 5 years or so. I just what a record there is.
I've forgotten how chugging it was.
It's a heavy, dark record with intent to harm the charts.
It's almost reminds me of La Tristera. Do you know
La Tristera? Yeah, that's just it's a bit lighter in its touch.
Yeah,
you know, but kind of like that was just a brilliant record. You know, I just thought it was really gratifying because Richey was a massive Killing Joke fan, you know, and just to see them get into the charts was kind of a funny moment because suddenly they were a band that no one knew, and Richey didn't like him so much anymore. It's that kind of indie, kind of snobbishness, kind of kicked in a bit.
That's something that I'm sure you guys have experienced on the flip side as well.
Yeah, a tiny bit, yeah.
It is the current incarnation of the band a little bit easier because you've known each other for such a long time. There's not the battling against each other. You and Nicky and Sean and kind of like rutting stags, kind of arguing all the time because you've kind of seen it all. You've experienced the roads.
I mean, me and Nick have known each other since we were 5. Myself and Sean have known each other since we were born. We're cousins, and we are brothers more than cousins, to be honest. And you know, if there was ever any real tension, it was always me and Sean having a brotherly argument kind of thing.
Right, okay.
Which can be some of the worst ones, obviously. Yeah. And then that hasn't happened for a long time. And I suppose it all really helped that kind of we all had different taste in girls, so we never argued about girls.
Right, okay.
We kind of, and we all kind of liked the same music, and so kind of it was the ley lines were good before we ever formed a band. We kind of, we
you
really
worked it all out when you were teenagers.
Yeah, we all really knew that we were a bunch of idiots, but kind of like we were all on the same side, and that's just been incredible for us to actually have a shared experience, shared history, shared ideals, and that makes it very easy to be in a band with each other. It just makes it the best job in the world, I suppose. Really,
I like the idea of you all having different archetype kind of girls that you go for. I'd love to see a drawing your perfect woman, but everybody having
I've never thought about it much before. I just said it out loud, and I was just like, yeah, it's a bit weird to say that, but it's cool.
Lovely job. I must ask you about this. I'm fascinated by Wade Barrett, the WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
Who's a big Manics fan. He's got a Manics tattoo on his arm, I think. It's a big old Generation Terrorist / Rose in the Hospital tattoo, isn't it? And there's talk of you possibly doing his music.
I mean,
is that just something you've kicked around? Is that just something you've said in an interview and now everybody asks you about it? Or?
We went through a bit of a WWF period when we were recording Know Your Enemy in 2001, I think that was. We were recording out in Spain, and we all we religiously watch it in like Saturday nights because it was just great entertainment, and it was just kind of cool. And because we're real sports fans, we made the distinction of it being sports entertainment, which is a completely different thing. But I suppose we just watched it just to kind of like just to not take life too seriously, and we kind of got into it. Yeah. So I kind of do know we have got a bit of a foot in the old WWE as it's called now.
Yes,
sorry.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool that kind of Wade Barrett is a Manics fan. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's a car crash of sensibilities. I like it. It's good.
But I don't think wrestling gets enough respect in that it's the actual interesting stuff is the behind the scenes stuff. The business side of things is quite fascinating. How certain people get a shot at the title, certain people don't. And
of course, they're definitely you know that it's a place for agents to actually go up against each other and just put deals on the table to Vince McMahon, I think his name is. It is me pretending I didn't know who he was.
Dude.
But kind of like that. Yeah, you could write a whole soap opera about the machinations of what goes on behind the scenes there. But kind of it is an interesting kind of subject because that documentary Beyond the Mat was an actually generally interesting documentary. And it's just, God, I'm not going to be snobbish, but I think that's kind of cool that he's a big Manics fan. I like that.
Damn right,
it's good. And he's, I've seen his character, he does a good job.
Do you look that good in pants?
I used to.
I used to.
It's like, no, that's good. Oh, Jesus Christ, why are you asking me that?
I've just realised the England-Germany match is on right now, and I've not actually looked at it. We've not actually got it on the television.
Yeah, my manager kind of left me at the door. He said, do you mind if I go and watch the football? I was like, it's okay, Martin.
It's quite all right. You're not a massive football fan. You're more rugby, aren't you? Nicky's a bit of a round ball fan.
I'm not, I'm a kind of... I watch a lot of football. It's not the top of my sports, but we're all such mad sport heads that even though football's run about anywhere between third and fifth on my of my league table of sports, I still watch it a lot.
Okay,
and so I'm a big football fan.
Do you? How do you feel about the current incarnation of the Welsh team? How do you sort of?
Well, kind of, we're all, any Welsh football fan is a long, suffering kind of victim of underachievement. And kind of, you come to embrace that. You come to embrace your status as underdogs, true underdogs. We're not even Republic of Ireland, who now and again have a moment in the sun. And they do brilliantly, which they haven't for a short while. But I'm sure kind of like old Keenan O'Neill is going to sort that out. But I just obviously at the moment everybody wants to know about Bale, and I know Rambo's playing all right for Arsenal and stuff and everything, and everybody just thinks that Will's automatically going to play better just because we've got two world-class Premiership players. Yeah, and and there is a good degree of Premiership players in that team now. And we'll just see. Chris Coleman's just signed a new deal, and we'll see if it happens. I mean, when Mark Hughes, won those 6 games in a row, and then it all came tumbling down. I was the idiot that went out to the San Siro to watch Wales versus Italy when there was a big riot of the Welsh fans, and all the Italian fans were hanging over and kind of throwing stuff down at our fans, and that's where it all fell apart, that campaign, But, you know what? I kind of like this. I secretly kind of like the struggle of Welsh football to try and become something. It'll happen one day.
Yeah.
It will.
I think last time you did a tour, you sort of timed it with the rugby tour and stuff like that. Did you? Have you done this this time? Do you know where certain teams are going to be?
Well, kind of like the next British Lions tour is in New Zealand in 4 years' time.
We've kind of. You got one eye?
I can't. We haven't talked to our wives about it yet,
right.
So I don't know if I want to talk to you about it live on air. But kind of, that was an amazing experience for us because it let us put serious like Manics behaviour to one side for once. Yeah. And it was just a pure rock and roll tour, and we were there to play and then go and watch the rugby, you know? And that was kind of a strange Manics holiday for us. And the gigs were amazing. Jamie Roberts, who's Cardiff Blues player, but now he plays in France, kind of like, and he's a Welsh rugby hero, kind of know him. He came and played on stage with us, and then he scored, the last try in the British and Irish Lions winning series. So we could say, Jamie Roberts was the first Manic preacher to ever score a try.
There we go.
And anyway, it was just great. It was just brilliant. It was cool.
glorious music and rugby football synergy.
I think people should try and synergise music and sport together, because that kind of indie snobbery in the past meant that you couldn't like sport, and we always broke that rule because
Well, you did Hillsborough stuff, and you worked very hard on that sort
but
of
just
side.
As fans, though, we're just massive cricket fans, rugby fans, athletics, boxing, football. Sean's a mental Formula 1 fan, but he is a drummer. So.
They like the technical side.
They do like their technical stuff.
Right, well, we'll squeeze in one more track and one more chat, if that's all right. Is that right?
Go for it, man.
Cool. Right, your next track is Scritti Politti. You've gone for Would Bees, is that all right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Good. Would Bees there from a band by the name of Scritti Politti. Slightly ridiculous band name for a man with my accent to read out, to be quite frank. James D. Bradfield is still here for a little while longer. The well-dressed men of Scritti Politti. They were stylish, weren't they?
Yeah, Green Guard side, he was a good boy. He's he went from being a proper kind of rough trade, cult artist, and then suddenly went to America and did this amazing pop record. And I was just always fascinated with his journey in becoming something else, from what he originally was. And met him a few times. He's an absolute gentleman. He's just amazingly talented bloke.
Yeah. Speaking of fashion disasters, I must say, have you any idea how many crimes you made me commit back in the day when I was a kid? I had my dad's German army shirts, a long leopard print jacket that I had for festivals, stuff like that. Not you personally, that's definitely Nicky.
All sounds good to me.
Have you ever looked back and thought, yeah, I'm not really sure what I was doing there, to be honest?
No. It's kind of like the pink fur coat, that was cool, I think, with the skinhead. What a juxtaposition, skinhead and pink fur coat, but kind of like, I think, the dyed blonde hair looked a bit daft, I thought I looked like Berlin era Lou Reed, but kind of, I just looked like a dick. But, I gotta say, it was always a struggle to keep up with Nick and Richey, because, they had this kind of like, angular, kind of like a slightly androgynous bone structure that carried those things off. And sometimes I looked like I was pretending. But kind of like, it was cool.
You'd both be in the charity shop and they'd be able to find something immediately that suited them, and you'd be like, I
gotta go for the white jeans and the kind of like in the German army shirt again. I was au fait with the army stuff. I remember my dad having a fight with somebody when he was a roofer on the council, because obviously one of his workmates had seen us on TV, and we were wearing our mum's blouses with all spray paint on them and stuff, and then kind of like, one of the blokes he's working with going, I saw your son on TV last night, he looked like a big Jesse, and like that, and hooked his overalls and started a fight on a roof and all that kind of stuff.
That's the worst place to have a fight. Surely.
But kind of like
the next time they saw you had balaclavas on and everything was on fire.
That was cool. That was cool with the roofers, that was. But no, our parents were amazingly supportive, each to a man and woman, when we started stealing our mother's blouses and spray painting them, none of our parents questioned it. They were amazingly just supportive, and just, found it really entertaining that we had such stupid imaginations.
In the early days, were you ever familiar with the Manic Street Preachers Frequently Asked Questions on the internet? There was this big sort of manual, sort of Bible that somebody made, concatenated all this information, and it took days to download, and it took days to print out as well. I had like a massive thick Bible. It was literally a ream of A4 paper, just with all the information that people had kind of collected together.
Well, there's so much information because so much of it is bogus, but a lot of the bogus information has just made us seem much more interesting than we are. Oh God, there was. It was written that I'd had this operation because I was such a mad, overactive child that I had this operation to cut my glands and all that to calm me down, because I was so. And
operation you can have?
The
gland cutting.
And just lots of dark stuff, there, which is obviously not true.
Yeah.
But the basic reality of the band is weird enough in itself for me.
It's very abstract, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So kind of like I don't think we've inspired many bands. I don't think many bands have come through and said, they want to be like us. I don't blame them. But kind of, I think we've inspired. We've had, literally must be 1,000 kind of like dissertations and treatments from people doing their course, in university, based on us and stuff. And
well, there's so much law there, though, isn't there? There's so much law. There's so much.
I think because of Nick and Richey, really. I think their lyrics, their lyrics were certainly unique at the time, because at the start of the 90s, it was the Manchester thing, and it was about, that was a cool movement. It was about, the working classes exploding into some kind of like joyous party, and trying to transcend the post gloom of the 80s. And I understood that, but we were different. We were very much more didactic and arch, and just like, no, we have a manifesto, you will do this. But Nick and Richey managed to infuse that with poetry as well. You know, it wasn't just doggerel. You know, if you look at the lyrics of Motorcycle Emptiness, which Nick and Richey wrote at the desk together, you know, they have actually infused something which is quite dogmatic with a lot of poetry. So I think a lot of that obsession and facts based around us, you know, definitely is, you know, owed to Nick and Richey, definitely.
Do you think you're sometimes tarred with the same brush that Morrissey sometimes gets tarred with, that there's not much joy in your music? Unfairly, clearly, though.
No, I mean, kind of, yeah, I suppose. There was a ream of like a supposed imaginary kind of like, you know, Manic Preacher song titles after "If you tolerate this, your children will be next."
Right.
Know?
Okay.
You know, where people used to make up Manic titles, and some of them sounded convincing. You know? And
have you squirreled any of them away under the bed for future albums?
But it's kind of like, if you know, that's fine, you know. If somebody can actually, you know, be very satirical about the identity of your band, it means that you've got a real identity. So
yes.
I'm fine with that. I'm cool with it. And but I think, you know, we are quite spiky sometimes. You know, definitely. You know, but we take our bile out on each other. You know, and then it all calms down and we reach a consensus in the studio on the tour bus, and then we try and put it into a song. But then sometimes they're outpourings of joy, you know.
Show Me the Wonder.
Show Me the Wonder for a start, or Let Robeson Sing, which is just a love song to an historical character. You know, Design for Life had its fair amount of joy in there. You know, there was some anger in there and they were spiking us, but there was a fair amount of joy in there too. And so it's okay. I don't mind it, you know. I think Morrissey was different because he had his very own much kind of brand of English humour to offset some of the misery,
right,
you know. So people understood that, you know, there was an Oscar Wilde-esque twirl of the pen involved sometimes. You know, with us, sometimes we were just seen as being a bit chippy and Welsh.
But you can't be that reductivist about music. You really can't, because
you can't.
You dissect the frog, you lose the whole reason why it's there, I suppose. I guess we'll better let you go because you are a busy man. I thought we'd finish with Anthem for Lost Cause, if that's all right?
Yeah, that's lovely. One thing, it's been lovely to be here.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.